Hi guys, my name is Clint Heffern and I am a building principal within the district. And basically what I'm here today to do is to evaluate our school board policies on religion that have been and gone unchanged for a while now. So looking at updating those policies to make sure we're meeting all legal requirements and we are up to date with current trends in public education. So I'm not here to tell you my religion or to try to influence you in any way. I'm going to try to keep my personal bias out of this and basically examine three different pieces of evidence or pieces of work: the Pew Report of 2019 on religion in public schools, the U.S. Department of Education and their kind of updated guidance as of 2020, and then an article from based on President Trump and his guidance and his viewpoints, standpoint on religion in schools. So getting into this, first one, the Pew Report of 2019 on religion in public schools. Basically, it started out by saying conflicts on religion in public schools are far from new. So dating back to the 1800s to the 1900s, all kinds of different court cases and rulings going this way and then flipping them back to this way. These issues are far from new. And that's one of the cool pieces of our government, is that our Constitution and our government has the ability to change and to update and to advance as times change and update and advance. That's really one of the cool parts of our government and our nation. So some specifics with this: school prayer. The Pew Report said that the Constitution prohibits school-sponsored prayer in public spaces. And this kind of is the overall theme of this entire presentation, is that the school cannot, and teachers cannot, administrators cannot sponsor or promote or encourage a certain specific type of prayer or religion while they are on duty and members of the state or working as members of the state. However, we are free and encouraged almost to talk about different religions, to examine them, to see how they influenced history, and if the students want to get together a group or form an activity that promotes or does something with their religion, then they are okay to do that. It just cannot be promoted or supported or encouraged in any way from teachers and administrators, nor discriminated against. The Pledge of Allegiance, 1954, added "under God," the words "under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance. Been a lot of controversy in 2010. It basically was ruled that it did not constitute an establishment of religion. So it was okay to say the Pledge of Allegiance and to say "under God" in public schools. That was okay. Student speech. Courts have been split on if students have a prayer, religious sentiment in a school-sponsored event like graduation. We'll get to that a little bit later on in a different article, but courts have been split on those rulings. Curriculum, teaching about religions, comparing religions, like I said earlier, using the Bible as literature, they're all okay. It's okay to talk about religions, to talk about what they stand for and what they believe in, and how that's related to our history. It's just not okay to encourage or promote or worship a specific one or discriminate against another. So some rights of students, parents, and teachers. Students can, like I said, act on their own to engage in a religious activity and discussion. They have that same right as they do any, freedom of any of their beliefs or speeches or speech. They can offer up a prayer or blessing before meals in school or assemblies or assemble on school grounds. A new survey actually found that 26% of teens actually say a prayer before eating lunch, so already doing that in public schools. But schools may neither favor nor disfavor students or groups on the basis of religion, and they cannot harass or discriminate against any religion. Parents can seek opt-out options for the kids on assignments if they feel the assignment conflicts with their beliefs or promotes certain other beliefs. They have an opt-out option, and that can be addressed. They're not supposed to encourage opting out or the entire school of opting out of that assignment, but they can, their specific kid, opt out of assignments. They have that right. And also a kind of a bigger theme here, parents have the right to choose what school they send their kids to. So they can send their kid to a public school, they can send their kid to a private school, they can send their kid to a parochial school. They have that right. They also have rights like, for example, the Amish taking their kids out of school after the age of, I believe it was 14. Parents have the right to choose what school their kids go to. Rights of teachers. Basically, what I gathered from this was that when teachers are off duty, they have complete freedom to worship who they want, worship what they want, go to whatever services. They have freedom of religion in that regard when they're off duty. However, when they are on duty, when teachers and staff and faculty are on duty and serving as members of the state, they can be asked to confine their beliefs due to the Establishment Clause, which basically means they cannot, while they're in school working for the state, promote a certain religion or say this religion is good and these are the, this religion is better than that religion. While they're on duty, they can have their religious beliefs. They do need to not promote those, but rather just state more so of facts, or maybe that's not even a good wording for it, but just talk about it, yes, not encourage it, not promote it while they're on duty. So moving on to the next article, the U.S. Department of Education and kind of what they recommend. Students may pray, they can study their Bible or religious work, they can say grace before meals when it is not intruding on instructional time. They can organize prayer groups, religious clubs, etc., just as other non-curricular activity groups can. They can, teachers and administrators, when acting as state employees, like I kind of just mentioned, they should not encourage or discourage prayer or participate in such activities with students, as that goes violates First Amendment rights of students to have freedom of religion. Students may express their beliefs about religion in homework, assignments, etc., and they should not be graded harshly because they show their opinion in that. So they should not be discriminated against. They should just use academic standards to grade their work if they reflect their opinion or their belief or talk about their religion in their academic work. It should not be counted against them. And last point here, content neutral for graduation speakers assemblies. So it is the school's responsibility to get speakers for stuff like graduation and big events, assemblies that are content neutral and not really favoring a certain religion or discriminating against a certain religion. However, if that speaker or that person, while in the graduation or in the certain assembly, maybe says a prayer or promotes a certain religion in some degree or manner, basically it is the speaker's thoughts and not the school's, and so the schools will not be held accountable to that. So schools are encouraged to seek out content neutral speakers, but what that speaker says is that speaker's, it's their thoughts, not the school's thoughts or beliefs. Still with the U.S. Department of Education here, kids can distribute religious literature material just as they have the opportunity to do that in other groups. So if they had an FFA packet they wanted to pass out to kids leaving school, they could do that. If they had, and it's the kids, they don't have to take one, but they can if they want. So if students form a group and they want to pass out flyers for a religious get-together activity, later on that night, they can do that to the kids, and the kids, if they want to take one of those flyers, can do that. Religious instruction, again, you can teach about religions. You just, to inform the kids on certain religions and how it's played a role in our history, just don't promote it. Dress code, cannot discriminate based on religion. So the kids can express religion on their clothing as long as it is not offensive or, have vulgar language or, violate any of the other school policies. They can express their religion, so they can wear a cross necklace if they want to, just as long as it does not violate any of the school policies already. And like I said, it's not offensive or dangerous. Equal Access Act basically said federally funded schools cannot prevent religious groups from using federally funded facilities. So if a student group or activity wants to use, a certain room before school to have a group organization gathering like FCA, they can do that. President Trump, in his guidance, he's been pretty outspoken on some of this. He warned school administrators that they risk losing federal funds if they violate their students' rights to religious expression. So he said the government should not stand between the people and God. And also, the Department of Education will send a letter to all education secretaries in all states, reminding the students and the teachers that students can't be discriminated against for practicing their First Amendment religious rights. So, and there's actually, he's offered programs or ways that students can reach out for help if they feel they've been discriminated against for their First Amendment religious beliefs, if they were discriminated against for expressing their freedom of religion, or any regard like that. So President Trump has basically said that the students can express their freedom of religion, can worship who they want, and that the school should not stand in the way of that. Working in with comparing this with my school, current school's policies, which has been really interesting because I actually have taught the past 3 years in a parochial school. So it's not a public school. A lot of people say it's a private school, but after being there for 3 years, I've learned that St. Mary's Colgan is not a private school. It's a parochial school, which means it's a parish school. It's connected to a parish, a church, and it's a member of the Catholic Diocese of Wichita. So this whole assignment was really interesting to me, and I found really informative because, for one, I have not had to deal with this religion and this topic of religion as or with a public school. So I have basically been everything that I just read about and learned for this article or for this module was not applying to me in my last 3 years. So we are at St. Mary's Colgan. It's a Catholic school. You do not have to be Catholic to go there, but a large majority of the kids and the parents and the teachers even are Catholic. And so they basically abide by all kinds of different rules. But we have Mass 3 times a week. We have prayer every day. Actually, every class starts with prayer. We start the day with prayer in our announcements. We end the day with prayer in our announcements over the intercom. We have a dress code that has crosses on our outfits. We have crosses on all our athletic uniforms. We've got crucifixes hanging in every room. So basically, it's a lot different than what I just read about with this article, but which is why it was really cool, like I said, and again, very informative to read this module and just learn about some of the specifics with public school. So, but again, like I said, St. Mary's Colgan, it's got a lot of religion tied to it. It's been cool to see how that religion is, and that religion within that school, and how it views other religions throughout the world, which I would say emphasizes this module where it was very inclusive as far as like teaching about other religions and how they have affected history and what they believe in. That's very much a part of St. Mary's Colgan, and not just looking at other religions or other beliefs and saying, no, you are wrong, but rather trying to understand what they believe in and why, which really I think has, especially for me as a teacher, just informed me and made me learn more about the world in general and how different cultures play a part in our overall society. So thank you for listening to my presentation. Here's my references. And again, yeah, thank you guys.